All right, welcome all of our Facebook Live viewers and our Zoom attendees. It's great to have you guys. I just want to say welcome again and thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Kylie Gudenkoff with Kirkwood Corporate Training, and today we have Helena Long joining us to present a quick teaser of the power of listening, what a difference you can make. Given all the listening we do, you would think we'd be good at it, and in fact, most of us are not. And research suggests that we only remember between 25 and 50% of what we hear each day. So today's webinar, we'll just touch real quickly on this topic. And if you guys are interested in doing a deeper dive with Helena, she'll be presenting this topic in a much more in-depth and just exploring different topics around this subject at the upcoming Flexible and Innovative Training Series, or as we call it, FIT, on September 9th. This session will be offered in a high flex modality, meaning you can join us in person or you can join us online. And if you'd like to learn more about the FIT series and this topic, please give us a call at Kirkwood Corporate Training at 319-398-5623, or you can email us at corporatetraining@kirkwood.edu. And that's all one word, corporate training. So today's presenter is Helena Long. She is the Vice President of Leadership Development at Jet Engineering and is currently leading Jet's training and consulting services function. In this role, she conducts leadership training and development, professional development training to client companies, and brings over 30 years of executive and management experiences in organizations and talent development, along with more than 15 years of a consulting record. And she has done everything from your Fortune 500 companies to small and middle-sized local businesses. I want to remind everyone joining us, especially our Zoom users, please go ahead and use that chat feature throughout today's presentation. If something's really resonating with you, go ahead and feel free to share that. And then if you have any questions, go ahead and just put those in the chat box. And at the conclusion of today's presentation, Helena will take a quick moment and answer any of those questions you may have. So Helena, thank you so much for joining us. And whenever you would like to get started, please do so.
All right, great. Thank you. Thank you, Kylie, for that great introduction. And it is great to, as we said, to have our first webinar of the season again. So today we're here to talk about listening. I've got about 15 or 20 minutes to share a couple of tips and techniques and just to give you a glimpse of what we will be covering in the course in September. So I want to start with a cartoon. See if you can relate to this. We've got the sender, the speaker, saying, thanks so much for letting me go on. You're such a great listener. And yet the receiver or the listener is thinking about her grocery list. Has anyone else done that besides me? We all do that. That is because listening is hard. It's difficult. And one reason it is because our brain works at the rate of about 500 words a minute, but most of us speak at the rate of about 225 words a minute. I'm from Tennessee. I probably speak at the rate of about 175 words a minute. But that means that our brains have this idle time that we can think about other things like our grocery list. So that means we're not really giving the speaker our undivided attention. We're not really listening. And so to listen, we have to be committed, we have to be engaged. It has to be a deliberate action to listen. So here we're going to talk about a few tips and techniques. We'll have time to talk about a model for effective communication, one of my favorite models. I want to talk about emotional hijacking and how that relates to listening, or actually prevents listening. And we'll talk about a few tips, techniques, and strategies that we can all take away from this to start applying immediately. So I have another quote. This one is from George Bernard Shaw. The single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that that has taken place. Right? Now, one reason that this occurs is going to be illustrated by this communications model. Let me walk through it briefly with you. I'm going to turn on my spotlight here so I can point. We start with the sender, who has a message that we want to communicate. So the sender encodes the message, or they package the message in some way. So we decide what words we're going to use, pictures, graphs, charts, but some way we package the message and then we transmit the message. I call you on the phone, face to face, a text message, an email. As the receiver, you receive that message and you decode it or interpret it. And typically we stop there, right? Because I'm so sure that I was clear and what I said that I'm sure you got it. But one more step in the process is really critical, and that's feedback. And that's where the receiver should say something like, let me make sure I understand. What you're trying to tell me is this. The reason that's so important is because in the middle of all of this, we have filters. Filters represent our perspective or our frame of reference. And filters are formed by things such as our age, our gender, our value system, our religion, our education, maybe even what part of the country we grew up in. Basically, everything that makes me creates my filters. What that means is that can be a big distraction in communication. Let me give you a quick example. If you go to Tennessee and you order a Coke, do you know what they're going to ask you? They're going to ask you what kind. And that's when you order your Sprite. Because down south, everything is a Coke. Where up here, it would be a pop or a soda. So just a simple little example. But what does this mean? How do we use this model? That would say that as the sender, when I am getting ready to communicate with you, I want to start by trying to understand what your filters might be so that I can package my message to get through those filters so we can have a complete exchange of information. By the same token, as the receiver, when I get a message, I want to try to put myself in your shoes and try to understand where you're coming from. What is your perspective? So I can fully understand what you're trying to say. That means putting my filters aside, my perspective, my opinions, my beliefs, so that I can really listen to you with an open mind to understand what you are saying. So I have a short little video clip to show you that really illustrates this. Everyone can see the giraffes here. I have two giraffes, and now watch as the camera angle shifts to the side. Can you see the giraffe? I'm sorry, see the elephant. Isn't that cool? I love this. Very clearly, we see an elephant. And now the camera is going to move back. And very clearly, we see two giraffes. So it depends on our perspective, right? So what does that mean? That means that two people can see or hear the same thing and draw different conclusions. Have you ever been in a meeting with others? And after the meeting, we all heard different things. This is why. And we are set up to hear different things because of our filters. So it is really key to understand that someone else may have a different perception from us, but that doesn't necessarily mean they are wrong. It's just a different view. And we need to be able to listen and to appreciate that. And one set of skills to help us do that is emotional intelligence. So I want to give you just a quick definition of emotional intelligence. It is using your emotions intelligently to gain the performance you wish to see within yourself and to achieve interpersonal effectiveness with others. Let me break that down a little. Using your emotions intelligently, that means that we are all hardwired to react in a certain way. That's just our personality. However, we don't have to react. We can be intelligent. We can be strategic and deliberate and thoughtful about how we behave. And we can make those decisions based on the performance we wish to see. In other words, I have goals. They may be goals, personal goals, the person I want to be, the leader I want to be, those values. So I want to behave in alignment with those. But also this could be performance from a work perspective. I have a deliverable I need to produce. I want to behave in a way that allows me to get that done effectively. Also, I want to behave in a way that will help me achieve interpersonal effectiveness. In other words, so I work well with others, so that I strengthen relationships. So this can be a thoughtful, deliberate decision. And we can learn these skills. We can enhance our emotional intelligence skills the rest of our lives. And one concept I want to share with you is the concept of emotional hijacking. Let me explain how emotional hijacking works. We see or hear something, and then we tell ourselves a story about what's happening, what that means. Because of that story we tell ourselves, now I get emotional. Now I get angry or sad or upset or jealous or defensive. And then I act on it. Typically, that's reacting on it. The issue is, we're going to go back to step 2. It's that story we're telling ourselves. Notice in parentheses, making this up. Often that story, that self-talk, may not be based on facts or even real solid information that we have. It's what we think is going on. And because of that, we get all worked up and emotional, and then we react, typically in an inappropriate or ineffective way. Earlier this week, I was working with a client, and she said, boy, this happened to me yesterday. I was in a staff meeting, and my manager told us all that we were adding a validation step to our proposal process, which is already too long. And now we are going to add one more step so that one person is going to take every proposal and review it. The story that this person told herself was, they don't trust me. Management no longer has confidence that I can develop a good proposal. They are concerned about my accuracy, my thoroughness, my completeness, and that's why they're checking up on me. So this person started feeling angry, threatened, upset. And so how did the person act? She lashed out in the staff meeting in front of her peers, lashed out at her manager, and said something like, this is a really stupid idea. We're adding cost and resources to this process. We're adding time to an already too long process. And the result was that the manager got defensive. It became a heated interchange between the two. And the other people on the team felt very uncomfortable. It was a very awkward situation. After the fact, sometime later, after everyone cooled down, this person had a one-on-one with her manager and learned the real reason. And so she was totally wrong in the story she was telling herself. But because of that story, she got emotional and lashed out. Can you think of any time that's happened to you? Maybe even yet this morning. It is a very common aspect that can happen to us. So what we want to work on is, how do you prevent this from happening? And first, I'm going to say pause. If we can pause after that first step, we see or hear something, pause, take a breath. And a good technique to help us do that is pierce your lips together and then say 4 times, mom, kids, mom, kids, mom, kids, mom, kids. Do you know why we want to do that? First, if I pierce my lips, I can't be talking. And secondly, the mom, kids is a reminder. I want to act in a way my mother would be proud of me. I want to act in a way that my children would be proud of me. And it sort of helps to calibrate, if you will, where you go next. Secondly, seek to understand without judgment. That's listening. That is putting aside our filters so that I can really understand what you're trying to tell me and understand the big picture. Have the facts. Ask for clarification. So ask questions. Instead of making assumptions and telling ourselves the story, ask questions to really get factual information. And again, listen to that. Or the fourth one is to delay the conversation. Just walk away. Maybe go talk to someone else and get their perspective on it. But delay it so that you can avoid just reacting and damaging a relationship, damaging the situation. All right. So there are a few techniques that we can take away with this. Closing thought here is a good listener is one who helps us overhear ourselves. So we want to continue to work on, and what we will continue to work on in our course in September will be additional strategies and techniques and models, really practical things that we can actually just walk out of the class and either start doing or do more effectively. All right, so Kylie, with that, I will turn it back over to you.
Very good. Thank you. I love that thought you just ended it on. That was phenomenal. I love that we can help hold each other accountable and practice better listening. So I just want to, again, thank everyone for joining us this morning. And thank you, Helena, for your time and helping us explore opportunities and just think about being better listeners in general. I just want to give out a quick shout out if any of you would like to bring Helena in-house on this topic or any other topic. Or if you'd like to join the Flexible and Innovative Training Series and do a deeper dive on this topic and learn a lot more strategies on how we can all be better listeners, please give us a call at 319-398-5623, or you can email us at corporatetraining@kirkwood.edu, and we'll help you get the ball rolling on any one of those things. For our Facebook Live viewers, I want to thank you so much for joining us this morning. I'm going to be going ahead and ending your live stream shortly. As a quick reminder, a bonus for being one of our registered Zoom attendees is that you actually get to stay on and participate in the Q&A afterwards. I want to just quickly remind all of our audiences that today's session was recorded, and we will be posting that to our social media, and we'll also email that out to all of our registered Zoom attendees. And we will include the Q&A portion of that. So thank you again. Facebook Live, thank you, but we're going to go ahead and end your stream.
Thank you.
All right. So for our Zoom attendees, if you guys have any questions about maybe how you could be a better listener, it's okay if it's not something that we necessarily covered. You've got an expert here. Go ahead and ask your questions. So Helena, I know you touched on this just real briefly. One question that I had is you talk about how, we speak at one rate, our brains process information at another rate. What's a good tip or trick that everybody attending today can go back and say, okay, I can be a better listener by just taking this tidbit and doing what? Like, how can we make ourselves be a better listener, knowing that we process information faster than people talk?
I think that the main thing is being totally into the conversation, not having one foot in and one foot out, but being totally in. If you want to get out of the conversation, get out of the conversation. But if you want to be in the conversation, be totally there and totally engaged and totally listening to the other person. And I think that's a real key. And I think also it is prepare to be amazed. I think everyone we talk with has amazing stories and amazing information, and we can learn from that. So walking into this conversation, prepared to be amazed, prepared to learn something. And I think if we can go in with that attitude, that helps a lot just to keep us really focused.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Prepared to be amazed. I'm going to just start embracing that every day. Thank you. Another thing is do you find that maybe with the rise of how much we have to be connected all the time, cell phones, our Apple Watches, all of those things constantly buzzing at us. I'm going to play devil's advocate here that those things, that constant need for communication is actually taking away from our ability to listen and communicate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also just the ability to even communicate effectively. There is research that really says that one of the the skills that our young people need most and are not getting as much of in the formal education as they need is good communication skills and good listening skills, because they are sending text messages and emails, a lot of text messages. It's amazing the number of text messages that teenagers, if you will, send each other back and forth. And as adults, we are doing more and more of that as well. That is becoming such a common and efficient way to communicate. But now you'll see people texting each other across the room, or the office next door, instead of going to talk to each other. And so, yes, we may be getting the job technically done, but we're not listening, we're not engaging, we're missing a big part of the communication. Research would tell us that only 7% of what we communicate is with words, 38% is with our voice, and 55% is nonverbal. And so when we're text messaging or emailing, we are only getting 7% of the communication. That leaves a 93% chance for misunderstanding. It's pretty scary when you think about it that way. And so for that good, complete exchange of information, we really need that face-to-face communication and good listening skills.
93% is huge. That is horrifying.
That's huge. Yes.
So we got a question in the chat box, and I love this question. So thank you so much for asking. So our submitter, I'm going to leave their name off because they didn't say if I was allowed to say it or not. So our submitter said, I tend to think about how I'm going to respond before the other person is done speaking. Do you have any advice on how to be focused on what the other person is actually saying?
That is a hard one, because I am going to tell you that it's also something I struggle with. Part of it is just, again, self-talk and the discipline to not do it. That sounds way too easy to just say. Being aware of it and not doing it is important. But there is this great exercise that we probably will do in class. It's one of my favorite. But you're with a partner like Kylie and I could be communicating. Let's say we're going to talk about an upcoming vacation. Kylie would start. I have to wait until she finishes, because my next sentence has to start with a word from the last letter of the last word she said. So what that reinforces is I can't think about what I'm going to say because I don't know what she's going to finish with. It is a great exercise to help reinforce really listening to someone and wait till they finish before you respond. Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of us struggle with that.
Yes.
Listening to respond and not listening to understand. It's tough.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
So, yeah, well, this was fantastic. Thank you so much, Helena, for your insights today on listening. And again, thank you to all of our attendees. If you're interested in joining the Flexible and Innovative Training Series with Helena, she's kicking it off on September 9th. We have 16 speakers total this year, offered in a lot of different modalities. So if you have any questions or you want to do a deeper dive on that, reach out to corporate training at kirkwood.edu, and I will help connect you with all the right questions and resources. And again, of course, if any of you would like to bring Helena in-house, you can also send us an email, again, corporate training at kirkwood.edu, and I would be more than happy to help get all of that set up with Helena. So thank you, everyone, for joining us. Helena, thank you for your time this morning. It was fantastic.
Great. Thank you so much, everyone.